how's it going? Night Door here, Bob. I was just looking at a video that Harvey put out tonight. Couldn't find my lighter. And it was in reference to, excuse me, Seven Seas Regular McBaron. Very nice. And a general with a forever stem from Walker Bryworks. Harvey was making reference to a video from Jay from a couple of months back about what assumptions you make of people when you meet them, how you deal with people. And I would like to think that I think the best of people when I meet them, but truth is, I really don't. And there's a reason for that. I've had a lot of time to think about things over the last few months since I've been unemployed, laid up with a back injury. You're not out doing things. All you've got is all the time in the world to think. And trying to get this lit so it'll stay lit. A little bit too moist. There we go. And I started thinking back when I was a kid. I mean, just a kid, like first grade, you know. I was exceptionally tall, exceptionally big. I was the biggest kid in my class all the way up to maybe 8th grade before the other kids started to catch up to me. When I was a kid, I went to a Catholic military academy for boys. So that screws with your social development on several levels as a young kid. One, you don't have interaction with girls on a daily basis, so that's going to screw you up because you don't know how to deal with the opposite sex. Two, as a kid, well, you're being raised the teachers are all nuns, and there was classes on, you know, Catholic religion, and I mean, I wasn't Catholic, or at least my family wasn't Catholic. I recall, you know, we were Protestant at the time, and I was only one of 2 kids in my class that were not Catholic. You know, there's 2 of us that were Protestants, and the rest were Catholic. And I remember very distinctly, I don't know what age that Catholics have First Communion, but I was very distinctly remember not being allowed to take it along with the other Catholic guy, or Protestant guy, because we weren't Catholic. And also, since it was explained very thoroughly how, you know, this was one of the things Catholics, you know, practiced, so that one of the rituals Catholics practiced, so that they, you know, they went to heaven. I was left with the feeling that I wasn't going to go to heaven because, you know, I wasn't Catholic, so I couldn't practice it. So, you know, I remember very, very distinctly having nightmares about not being able to go to heaven. Seriously, you know. I remember my parents had to call the school. The nuns lived at the school, and I had to call the school and get a nun on the phone to talk to me in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep because I thought I was going to die and go to hell. So, you know, let's see, no interaction with females, being taught that if you don't do it, you know, if you're not a Catholic, you're going to go to hell, and then a military academy. Oh my God, where do I start? You had to wear a military uniform, similar to what you see people at West Point cadets wearing. But remember, we're talking, you know, elementary school here. You had to have a proper haircut. Your uniform had to be clean, pressed, whatever. You know, if you had medals for whatever, you know, they had to be properly lined up. Your shoes had to be buffed and shined. And every morning before school started, there was a formation, like they have, you know, in the military, where were inspected on a daily basis to see if you had the proper haircut, to see if your uniform was clean and properly pressed, to see if your shoes were properly shined, and if you didn't meet standards, you got demerits. And demerits, it was okay if you had 2, but 3 or more, and you had to walk march detention after school on Fridays. There was a sidewalk behind the school designated for this purpose. It was, I don't know, 100 feet long or something like that, and for every demerit you had, you would march up one side of it, and I do mean march. It wasn't just walking, it was marching. It was in cadence. There was a guy there watching you to make sure you stayed in cadence. You know, you marched down one side of it, did a proper left face, marched a few more steps, left face again, walked down the other 50 feet, and, you know, he repeated the whole process, and it was 15 minutes for every demerit you had. And I remember clearly there was times where I was there for 3 hours or more. So, I mean, that fucking school screwed with me on so many levels. I can't even begin to talk about it, you know. I mean, you know, you carried a replica of the M1 rifle, wooden stock, metal barrel. The thing was heavy, you know. Of course, it didn't fire, but it was otherwise accurate replica, including the weight, which was the important thing, because you had to march around with the sucker for punishment if you screwed up, and they wanted to punish you immediately instead of giving you demerits so that you would have to march up and down the sidewalk on Friday. They would get several of these M1 rifle replicas, make you stand at attention with your arms out like this, and you had to hold you know, like 4 of them on each arm, you know, for duration period of time. You know, that was one of the ways they dealt with immediate punishment instead of making you march after school on Friday. That fucking school screwed with me so many ways. It just, you know, you couldn't even begin to talk about it. But then, on top of all the other shit, the military shit, the Catholic shit, and the, you know, the nuns, I was also, like I said, in my class, the biggest kid in class. When I was in 4th elementary school, went from 1st grade up to 8th grade. And then if you stayed in the system, you went to a military high school, and then if you stayed in the system, you went on to, like, you know, West Point possibly. You know, it was one of those fast track programs for people that stayed with it. But in 4th grade, I was as big as the 8th graders in that school. And this was back in the late 60s, you know, early 70s, there was no real school fallout repercussions for bullies. They didn't really do jack shit about bullies. And I remember I used to get pounded, beat the crap out of me on a regular basis on the school bus on the way to school by the 8th graders, just, because they were bullies, because I was as big as they were, and they thought, for some whatever fucked up reason, that I was some sort of threat to them. So I had crap kicked out of me on a regular basis. Nothing the school bus driver did, nothing my parents did, nothing the fucking school did about it. They would talk to the kids, and then the kids would I would complain to my folks. They would talk to the school. The school would talk to the kids' parents, and then I would get beat up even more severely on the school bus. So one day, you carried your books in a bag. It was like a miniature laundry bag almost. All your school books were in it, and and your school lunchbox and all things like that. And one day I made a special point of getting off the bus directly in front of one of the biggest bullies that there was on the bus. I got off the bus, and as soon as I got off the bus, I took like one step. I knew he was right behind me, and I took my bag and I swung it as hard as I could and clocked him on the head with it. And even though I got, I clocked him a few times, I think. I don't remember. This was like 4th grade, whatever. But he was an 8th grader, and of course I got in trouble, but I didn't care, because after that they stopped picking on me, and that's the only thing that fucking mattered. But basically, I had at a very early age severe dysfunction built into me. No interaction with girls, military environment, a Catholic environment, kids beating the crap out of you on a daily basis for no reason whatsoever. I had it built into me on an early basis that people were fucked up, and always expected the worst out of people. So even today, when I meet somebody new, I expect the worst out of them. I hope to be disappointed. I really do. I hope that I'm disappointed, and but I expect not to be disappointed. I expect to see the worst out of them. So that is why I am today the way that I am. I can be sarcastic. I can be scathingly blunt and honest, and these are all built-in defense mechanisms to hurt other people before I get hurt, and that's the way I am. And no, it's not a good way to be, but hey, when you learn behavior at such a young age, you really aren't going to change. It's like they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's really true. So anyway, that's why I am the way I am. So hey, I saw Harvey's video, and I just wanted to put in a comment. I wish I could see people in the optimistic, favorable point of view that Harvey and Jay sees people, but it just doesn't work out that way for me. So take care, people.